What's going on, people? It's Mr. Dog back again. Sorry for the review show from yesterday's game. That ended. Sorry again. That ended
All right, Dog.
Just a time. Let me get into it. That ended Forest 0, Everton 1. A lot to talk about. Very lot to talk about yesterday's game. Sorry, let's get into it.
Lots to talk about.
Like I said, people, there's a lot to talk about the game. Yeah, so people, if you want to get involved, please do, and then we've got something to talk about. Like I said, if you are new to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and comment below, people, how you feeling about the topics that we are going to talk about as well. I'll try and get everyone in as well. Right, let's get the panel in. First of all, the man himself, Glenn. How you doing, Glenn?
Yeah. Been better, but I think we've been a lot worse. Reflecting on during the course of the last 24 hours, really. And I haven't really changed my mindset. So it's going to be an exciting hour, an interesting hour. I think everybody's viewpoints, particularly the comments. So, yeah, let's hear them.
Next up, the Welshman, Stephen. How are you, Stephen?
Yeah, just football rejected.
That's a nice thing to say. Football rejected. That's a nice thing to say.
Yeah, football blues.
Football blues. Next up, all the way from Australia, the man himself, David. How are you doing, David?
Well, this morning, the only problem I have, Dora, is you always ask me to come on the show after a Forest loss, and that typically means I go and rewatch the game. So I've now watched that game twice, and it was as painful the second time as it was the first time. And what a pleasure to hang out with Welsh Steve and Glenn, two of my favourites to come on the channel. So, yeah, a lot to kind of dissect, and just heartbreaking, isn't it? Like, it just sucks just going through, and you're so pleased they're in the Premier League, and I just want them to win so much. And so I kind of was watching Ryan Yates play, and I'm like, I want him to score for us so that Ellie can give me a bit of SHIT. Like, would have been so good. It just bums out.
Like I said, people in the chat, get involved. I'll get your thoughts on what me and myself and the panel will say before we do. Let's get through the comments as well. Hi, Ben. Hi, Glenn. Hi, Steve. Hi, Aussie boy. Hi, David. How come David gets two? How comes me, Glenn, and Steve didn't get one? Come on. Shout out to David. Shout out to David. The American man. Chris, how you doing, Chris? Long time no see. Even last, please resist the urge to launch the same old Cooper in, Cooper out, blah. Chris, I think it's something that we've got to talk about. I'm not going to go anti-Cooper, because everyone knows I'm about Steve. So if people want to think I'm going to blah, blah, blah Steve Cooper, I'm going to disagree with the few things that he did yesterday. But if you disagree with it, then that's fine. But we are going to talk about it. So, but how you doing, Chris? Hope you're well. Paul, hope all has well. Getting this new team again. Do players think we're better than we are? Need to get to heads back again, like we did like last year. Everton had heart, 100%, Paul. Thank you for coming on the show. I think it is another one. Surely everyone agrees that Cooper has to be sacked. Peter, thank you. I think this is you must love coming on the show, Peter, because like I said, I'm not going to bash him. So if you want to feel about me bashing on, then feel free to leave. But I'm not going to bash him and do that. Davey, again, come on, lads. Let's see some smiles. It's not in the world. Yes, I'm ready to go to but come on, lads. Dave, we're not. Is it Forest fans? Like, we lost, and then like I said, it's something to talk about throughout the game. Mark says didn't watch the game. Match always at work, but listen to radio sounded like it was shocking. Did you even forgot to play them? Oh, that was awful. Glenn, did you go, Glenn, yesterday? It was awful, wasn't it?
Unfortunately, not. No. Yeah.
It was.
It was a real shame because that display that Forza put on was phenomenal.
Yes,
and the
100%.
camera from the Bridgeford end looked back along the pitch and saw it, and then you obviously saw the fans standing up and singing and the scarves going up. But the lack of the song really did make a massive impact on the way that display was really kind of the whole idea of the music and the soul of the city. So that was a real shame that didn't happen. For what I've heard is that a number of fans are hoping that would be put back up again, that
100%.
display. But I've also since heard that there's no storage for it, so that it was left outside yesterday, and it's unlikely to be usable again, which is a real shame.
Wow,
I've
that's a
heard
shame.
also from various forums and various other places that some fans are offering storage facilities for them. I hope that's the case, whether it be a van or something, or at least a lockup that they can store them, reuse these things. But the amount of effort that goes in and the number of people that put that on, I know that the Mulligan tyre is a separate issue almost, but the lack of that really was a bit of an anticlimax. It was a real shame.
Yeah,
The
I think
coverage
it was,
almost seemed like the start of the match was rushed and Cooper was out early. And
no,
and
what it
Yeah,
was, what it was, David. Like I
It
said,
was
I was in the Trent
was
tent,
rough.
and the flag was still there when the game started, and the music
Yeah.
didn't it didn't connect with the flag. So
Yeah, I don't know whether they were against the time for TV purposes or something. It just the whole thing, like Dave said, just felt rushed. It just didn't seem organised. And people have made points online. We didn't do any tribute to Terry Venables either.
Yeah,
Terry Venables, which was again, the beginning of the game just felt very disorganised, and like Glenn said, the only thing that did feel organised was the display, which is spectacular, but it just didn't all tie in. It just felt a bit disjointed.
Who was the person on the banner?
it's a young lad. I don't know who it was, to be fair. A young lad.
I thought it was Noel Gallagher.
Young lad. But like I said,
Waiting for Des to appear on a banner, actually, do that.
Well, him running. Right, so people, let's say, I'm sorry, I've lost now. Sorry, I'm going to go through the comments. Last two comments. Good evening, Mr. Dog, Glenn, Steve, and David. Hope you're well. I'm just doing some colouring while I'm watching and listening. Eve, that's it. Eve, who are you drawing? Have you drawn Glenn yet? I've not seen a picture of Glenn yet. So if you can, just draw a picture of Glenn. That'd be great.
I've seen it.
You mean Danny Murphy?
I nearly put on my this morning.
Peter said,
I put that there to remind myself.
Zach Cooper now, decent.
Little post-it.
Kara says, sorry lads, I'm not in or out. Two bad results away from the start. Hope they can start making better decisions for the subs. Why on earth take 6 minutes to take a change? Last comment before to go on. Paul said, I don't like core players, but Cooper White not played well since Langas seems off missing Johnson. Right, so let me get through the panel, and I'm going to start with you, Glenn. What's your feelings about yesterday's game?
I during the course of the day today, in that kind of quite a reflective period after a loss like this that we all go through. Now, I haven't seen the game again, David. It's great to hear that you've seen it again, although that's probably 90 minutes you won't ever get back. But there were a number of positives that I'm going to start with, and then no doubt during the next hour we'll talk about the things that weren't right or went against us, perhaps a little bit of unlucky situation from time to time. But I think the overriding thing for me is that Felipe came back in and stayed on the pitch. How lucky he was to actually not get a second yellow and stay on was significant. It was how incredible. Two or three
Felipe
after the first foul. Pardon?
It's Felipe. He's just a little bit better.
Yeah, well, for sure. And the referee was obviously speaking to some of their players about some of the incidents and some of the potential yellow cards. The fact that he's back and played 50 minutes, I don't know what his knees are like today. If they're anything like mine, they'll probably be in bits after that sort of length of time out, and then having massive knee injuries, and then coming back in and almost playing more than I imagine he was ever intended to have played yesterday, maybe 20 minutes or so at the end, perhaps, but not playing a significant role like he did. I think the other positive for me was Murillo, and how fortunate from seeing that again, how fortunate we are to have him in our team. He's just a phenomenal player. And as a goal line, similar to the tackle last week, Dore, at the Bridgeford end, that broke down that situation where he was watching out for Mangala, wasn't he, to see what Mangala was going to do, and then the acceleration, and they managed to nick it, and a little bit like Gibbs White's earlier in the season. And I think the other situation is that we've managed now, although there's not a lot of impact from it, that Toffolo's starting to take those free kicks and corners, I should say, more so. and actually having a bit of an impact there, and as they're making a difference. So that's the only 2 or 3 positives. Yes, Yates came on and started and played the whole game. Elanga first half had a lot of success down that left-hand side, although crosses at the end weren't great. And I think that him against Ashley Young was a positive for me. In fact, the way he was playing down that left-hand side. But again, there are a number of other significant things that for me really aren't right now. I think the fact that Everton set up against us and knew exactly how we were going to play. They knew exactly how we're focused in terms of playing on the counter attack, and they denied us space in the first half. They pressed so hard, and I'll be the first to say that I think they wanted it more than us. They were the team that were setting up ready, and I think the significance of them being bottom of the league at 5:25 yesterday evening would have had a significant difference as well. That and the backroom staff. And the way that it was set up, they gave us no space whatsoever in the first half. You know, by the end of the game, we had 15% more possession than them, had nothing really to show for it, did we? You know, the amount of ball we had in the space, they stopped us from having that counter attack, and they put themselves in a position where they were really going to make it difficult for us from the very beginning. We had a little bit of success in the first 15 minutes. I thought we looked good. And then in the sort of that middle 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the end of the first half, it was such a scrappy game. It was almost like, you know, they were just not really ready to do anything. And they were happy just to run around and make it really difficult for us and press us so hard. Like I said, the fact that they pressed us in there in the midfield, particularly, they pressed really high and made it really difficult for the back four to play out. And then when we did, we were lumping high balls down, which is bread and butter for their back four. You know, they only had 2 in midfield. I'll say about Garner, I thought he was phenomenal yesterday, but it made it really difficult. And in the end, Elanga shot across the goal. Arguably, Gibbs White's shot should have gone across the goal as well. It was near post right hand side, first half, playing towards the Trent end. And it looked tired. It looked a really frustrated and low confidence performance. And I think that the unfortunate thing, which we'll no doubt talk about, is the penalty. But had that gone in, it may well have changed the last because it was about 65, 70 minutes, wasn't it? It may well have changed the last 25 minutes, but who knows? You know, it was a very scrappy, bottom of the league sort of encounter.
It was a relegation game, wasn't it? It was just a relegation game.
Yeah. And now we're in a fight, albeit 5 or 6 points away from the bottom 3 or 4. It just puts the pressure on Fulham and Wolves and Newcastle and all the other games we've got in the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. So I'm having watched it at home, and it was weird actually that they put a former Everton women's player and a former manager from Everton on the panel for them, and they were saying that Everton were the far better team. It was such a close, narrow margin sort of performance in that both had the same number of corners, both had the same number of free kicks, both had the same number of a lot of stuff. I think Forest had about 200 more passes in the 550s, which is I don't remember the last time that we had anywhere as much as the ball. But I think the final third, we just didn't play well enough to put the ball through into anywhere sort of situation. And you know, you can look at the way that we crossed the ball. I don't think we particularly. It was all floated. It wasn't particularly very impactful. And we'll probably. I'm not going to preempt any discussion we may have about our forwards play at the moment. But yeah, that's not great either, is it? That's not going to score us any goals.
Steve, before we do, hello Dylan. There's Steve's son, Dylan. So people in the chat, show some love to Dylan. Steve, was you happy with that team? Because I see loads of people saying, why did Yates start? Why did Dominguez didn't play? Who else was moaning about Ward? Why did Origi play? Because Origi loves scoring past Everton. These kind of things. Was you happy with the team, Steve, or do you think Cooper got it wrong?
the balance just don't seem right up top. It just didn't seem right. We discussed on Friday, didn't we, Ben? We gave our predictions for our start 11, and I was pretty close to the fact that put Yates in. I thought this kind of game would suit him. Bally back in for his height and his physicality. But again, we've got to play Hudson-Odoi and Alanga either side. We are lacking, for me, that since Johnson's gone, we're just lacking down the right side a threat. Because for seasons we've had the combination of Lawley and Cash. Then we had Spence and Johnson, and even last year, down the right side, wherever Johnson had. For me, that side just needs addressing because Gibbs White's not a right-sided player for me. He needs to come in. He needs to come in the middle. I thought Urier coming back in. Okay, I thought Ainia didn't have a great game in the last game, but then I thought, okay, that's a big call there. But no, was Dominguez being dropped? Bit of a shock. He's had a couple of stinkers last couple of games. Mm-hmm. But then the way Everton play, I thought if Dominguez played the way he plays, he could have got near Garner. No one got near Garner. No one laid a finger on Garner.
No one did.
Garner the only time he did, I think someone clapped at him. I forgot who he was. But no one got near him. He just he's like a quarterback. He was spraying the ball around. He just completely controlled that midfield. And it was just one of them things about it where we always say an old player comes back to haunt us, and what could have been, and how many comments are saying we should have signed Garner and we wouldn't have spent 30 odd million on Sangare and so on. But then it just could have been just the moment. Garner he knows some of the Forest lads, he knows the pitch, he knows the surroundings. He just lapped it up, didn't he? He had man of the match, right? He deserved. McNeil had man of the match, was close to man of the match. He scored the goal. He looked a threat. But I agree with Glenn. He was just a scrap. First half was one of the worst games of football I've seen for a long time.
It was.
Both teams are poor. And we just played into their hands. We just played into Dyche's hands. His tactics, the way they've set up. And like Glenn said, just hoofing the ball, just easy for their centre half. Tarakov, what's his name? The ex-Burnley guy.
Tarkowski.
Yeah, just head and everything else. But can I just say one thing before we get to Dave? Right, is just where's it gone wrong? Can anyone We went to Chelsea, won, brilliant, and like I said the other day, Ben, how many last starting lineup are still playing? I think, right, that Luton game has, for some reason, since that Luton game, something has drastic. I don't know if it's the confidence of the team, if Cooper said a few home truths to the team. We've got the Worrell conundrum, we've got other players who've been dropped in and out. Something's gone wrong since that Luton game. And I think maybe he's upset the apple cart. Maybe some players are starting to form cliques and divisions in the team. Gibbs White was dropped for the game, wasn't he? Came back in, he spat his dummy out. So I don't know, it's just everyone's opinion, but for me, something's gone wrong somewhere. We're just not clicking at all.
David, we had, as people will know, last week we had a discussion about Ryan Yates, people. Do you feel, David, Yates was warranted to play yesterday?
I was amused that Yates was picked, and I thought that Steve Cooper must have watched our podcast and fallen victim to the pressure from you and Ellie saying that Ryan Yates should come into the team. But I did feel somewhat vindicated. I thought he didn't really have – I just don't think he has the quality on the ball, and he's a useful squad player. And then I don't think it's right for us to expect any player to come into a team and then suddenly take on the captain's armband. So, I can play in a Division 1 league, and I'm quite a competent player, and I'm not good enough to be in that team, and I shouldn't be the captain. But if I go down to play, in an over 45 team, then I should be the captain of that team. And so I don't think Yates. I think the captain is the revolving armband is an issue that shows that we don't have a leader in the squad. So I think that's telling. I thought it was interesting that when Bolly got injured, that they chose Felipe and not Niakate to come on. So I thought that was telling. Maybe that's because they like Felipe in that position on kind of the right side rather than Niakate. I thought that was interesting. And I did think that the senior like an older, Felipe Bolly style combination with Murillo was probably better. I agree that Garner we seem to just be passing it up the guts through the middle of us, and our midfield wasn't really there. And Hudson-Odoi.
Would you start, Dave? Would you? People in the chat will get involved. Like I said, yesterday I feel like we have a leader. I think I can talk about Joe Worrell. I know that he's a leader.
We don't have a leader.
That's probably,
who's the?
Do you think got a leader? People in the chat as well. Do you think people in the chat? No, sorry, Dave. People in the chat.
Yeah.
Do you think we haven't got a leader? Do you think we've lost our identity? Like we did.
Well, we don't have the identity because we changed so many players, Dor. So back to the point, we got 7 players in again on the transfer deadline day. Like, how many times are we going to completely reboot the team and, just expect that Cooper can pull these guys together? Like, when we signed those 7 new players and we threw Ngare in and Dominguez in and all these new guys, like, what did you expect was going to happen? Of course, it's happened every time we've bought all the new players. And then we're also missing Taiwo. Goodness, we just...
100%.
Yeah.
Having said all that, Felipe hit the post and it was a penalty. Yeah. And if in that 15-second window, there were 2 reasons why we could have had a goal. And if that goes in, then we're all like, oh, we're back, baby. And F off Everton. And, it's just a different, it's just so close, isn't it?
Glenn, people in the chat as well, we can talk about the penalty. Clear day. I just don't know. I don't understand. Like, everyone argues about VAR. And if that's not a penalty, what is? Glenn, talk about it, man.
You're right. The comparison I'm making, Dor, isn't necessarily with the one that Woody gave away last week. It's the one that Danilo gave away at Old Trafford. And in comparison to that, it was 2 or 3 separate incidents that what was the lad's name?
Corey.
Right.
Corey, yeah.
So to start off with, he's facing Yates with his back to the corner flag. Right. So he's not even intending to watch the fly to the ball. He's just standing obstructing Yates. And then Yates gets around his left shoulder and then he starts to panic. And he's pulling at the shirt. He holds onto the shirt for a second or 2. Yates is continuing going forward and you can see the shirt stretch and you can see it being held. And then he flicks a foot and may or may not have hit Yates. So there were 3 separate incidents there, 3 separate situations that showed me that the player had no intention of playing any part in that situation. That was going to be, he was always going to be in trouble, essentially. So he was always going to be in a situation where he was never following the flight of the ball in and getting himself goal side. He was back to corner flag side by side with Yates. Now, how that is seen to be, firstly, VAR, and we can discuss this. Firstly, the vision of the referee, I thought actually had a relatively good game with the exception of that.
He did.
Was looking at the penalty spot and saw that Yates was pushing, as he does, left-hand side of the 18-yard box towards the penalty area, sort of near post, right, in that diagonal run. How that was missed, firstly, thank you. How that was then not referred to at least give the referee another opportunity, and then the outcome was this kind of flaky, not significant enough. Yet in other situations they were given, and the difference is it's the policy they have with VAR, which now I'm over 55-45 in favour of VAR in its current situation. VAR isn't the issue; it's the people managing it, and the refusal for me that they won't re-referee the game. Now that's a just go and have a look. Just go and have a look at the screen and see what you think, sort of situation, right? Which I don't think will take more than a minute. We think it's borderline. You might have a different opinion. Now, for us, VAR is just football in slow motion, and how they can't see that it's a foul anywhere else on the field, with the exception of the 18-yard box. Firstly, the player was never intending to challenge for a 50-50 in the air or wherever the ball was. He was always impeding Yatesy, and when Yatesy got the wrong side of him, he was pulled and fouled. That is a penalty for me. How it can't be.
Also at pace, Glenn, when you're moving. Also at pace, when you're moving quickly, it takes a slight touch to knock Yates over, and the ball was going into his path. Correct. And it was looking like he was. The reason why he was fouled is because Yates was in the best position to head that ball into the goal from that corner. And ironically, it was a Harry Toffolo corner, so of course it was better. Like that was like a classic, going to be a classic Yates goal. And so it was. It was a penalty. Sorry.
Yeah, and when you put that side by side to Woody's foul last week, it is more of a penalty. Yeah. The only difference is the referee hasn't blown for it. Now, I don't think that's enough that the VAR refused to refer it, if the referee on the field hasn't given it. What is the purpose of VAR in that situation then? I massively disagree with that situation. And it's not fair.
Well, if they give the penalty, do they then go to VAR and then have them check it, or is it just go? Like, how do they? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, they go and check it.
Yeah.
They go and check it. Yeah, they go and check it. This is why I'm baffled on, because from where I sit, I didn't know it was a penalty. To someone told me next to me, it should have been a penalty. So, but we can't blame that. We're poor, and
but Ben, we were poor. But then, if we had gone 1-0 up from that penalty, how would have Everton reacted? That's football, isn't it? Like, with them backs against the walls, then they would have had to come out, and they would have had to slightly change their tact again. So if we had gone up, our tails would have been up, and then we may have gone for the juggler. But again, it's ifs and buts, isn't it? That's the thing with games. Turns games. You know, like last week. This is raw now because of what happened last week with Brighton. Like, if this happened 6 months, if this happened in April, we would have gone, oh, do you remember what happened against Brighton? But because it was last week, we are so still angry. And you can imagine what Cooper's feeling like. It's still raw. And it's like, it does come across as a bit of desperation, right? Because we were so poor, and Liz touched us all that we have to maybe rely on a penalty to open them up. But, you know, it is what it is. And maybe we'll get our luck further down the line and we'll get a penalty that we shouldn't get.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Steve. I think the situation that Cooper's obviously in, with Dad being a referee and him coming out very vocally and saying how much he's actually trying to support referees to make it a fair situation, that the second thing he says was about that again. It can't be helping him manage the dressing room or the conversation they had with the referees before and after the game. It's a mess.
It's just consistency, because like going to that Newcastle game in the week with the handball against PSG, if you're going to give that, you have to give everything that touches a fingertip in the box as a penalty now. You have to be consistent then. If you have to give 10 penalties in a game, do it. Just make a farce out of it. If the refs, if it's a penalty after penalty, this football is going to get ruined either way. You know, it's just a farce.
No, because if they do it, then people will stop fouling in the penalty box, and then you won't have all that argy-bargy, which is kind of rubbish. It would just be a couple of weeks of pain, and then the players would work it out and then stop doing it.
People, please, if you do a massive favour, please do hit the like button if you can. And like I said, any topics that you want to talk about yesterday's game, please do. Steve, it's a topic that we talk about every show. Crystal situation. My issues, like before, I have my opinion about Chris Wood. It wasn't great at all. But we've got Tyler Woodney, who's injured. Dekurige, for me personally, that he should have brought on earlier. And I see Forest fans saying, "Oh, we don't play him, play more Gibbs wide, blah blah blah." What do Forest fans expect Steve Cooper to do? Don't play none of them. What do you think? people have got to chat as well. What do Forest fans want in hindsight? If we don't play Chris Wood or Declan Origi, what do Forest fans want? Kick off this one, Steve.
Well, if you're not going to go with Origi, you got to play Gibbs White in a false nine, haven't you? But then we tried that last season. But the outlet we had last year was we had Johnson to pull us out of a hole now and again, didn't he, with his goals? But this season we haven't got that threat. So for me, I watch Wood play and he tries, and he goes up to the debate of we don't play to his strengths. There's only one game we did, and that's the Luton game. But for me, it goes back to the wingers. We got to play without a winger to get the balls in. Now, Alanga's crossing is that's why maybe he hasn't cut to that Man United. But he has got obviously pace to burn, unbelievable pace. And I just wish he was running more Ashley Young more. But anyway, but the right side again, get Hudson-Odoi in. But then maybe Wood needs support up front. He needs someone to play off. Maybe like going back to that Gibbs White or the Dalilo or Dominguez. Wood needs support because he does try, but then he's isolated. He is trying. Nothing comes off for him. It bounces off his knee, bounces off his chest to one of their players. He flicks it on. He flicks it on to nobody because no one's making that run. No one runs past Wood because he's flicking it on and he's looking round and he's like, So how many times were they pumping the ball up to him yesterday? He just wasn't working. And for Wood, I think if you are going to stick with him, he has to have more support. If you go back to in his earlier career, when he's playing at Burnley and maybe Leicester, then kind of especially Burnley, they got players around him. You've got to get players in around him to feed off him if he's going to knock it off. Because sometimes he does hold it up, but then sometimes it just comes to nothing. And then he's running up, he's trying to close down the keeper then, or their centre half. And he's not a Taiwo. We all know that. He's not a Taiwo. But Origi, someone said that how poor is Origi then to Cooper that he only brings him on for 10 minutes? Sorry, guys, my Alexa just come on and started playing YMCA for some reason. Hang on. Alexa,
Maybe Alexa, play YMCA. Wouldn't that be great if we could get that to actually work for us?
Alexa, off.
Unbelievable. Glenn, would you have started Origi yesterday, or do you think Cooper should have brought him on earlier? Because it looks good past Everton. Everton fans before the game, I saw a few Everton fans saying, "Is Origi starting?"
The Everton fans booed him as well, didn't they, when he came on?
Yeah. That's the thing. Why I don't get with Cooper. Why didn't play him?
Why? Actually, selection-wise, I think why he didn't. Only him and the coaching staff would know that. Why they played Aurier over Aina. Only the
that was the right call, Glenn. Aina's been out of
form.
That was the right call. Aina had a poor game that last game.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I don't think Aina would have done.
It was only one or two poor games, but
the McNeil shot though, would he? I don't think Aina wouldn't have ducked under a shot and closed his eyes and let it go by him. For me,
his hair would have just blocked it.
Sorry,
his hair would have just blocked it.
Maybe, mate. Who knows? There's the Divock Origi signing. From the very first moment I heard it might be happening, it was very late on deadline day, wasn't it? Was a little bit of a mystery for me because obviously seeing him play at Liverpool and the impact that he made, particularly that fantastic goal he scored against Barcelona from the quick free kick.
The quick free kick
at the corner. I don't really know why he's here because he's not really been doing that much for us. And I think that's probably the reason why they chose Woody over Origi based on his experience of playing in that game. Albeit that it was obviously the Burnley connection with Dyche and the others that know exactly how to play against Wood, and it wouldn't have taken more than a couple of minutes of conversations with their back four to make them very clear as to how they're going to play with all the analysis they do now against Wood and how we then supply him with the ball, and obviously they've then got a head start on that. there must have been a reason why. I don't know what it is. I'm only going on based on the fact that Origi's not played all that much and he's not really had that much impact either. They'd probably go with the devil you know rather than that, I guess.
People, please, like I said, please hit like button if you can. Help me a lot. Well, another topic. We'll talk about Steve Cooper. And before I do get a panel, I saw someone say it was something ridiculous. When Steve Cooper came to Forest, and Swansea fans would say something about he's not good and blah, blah, blah. And he come to Forest, bottom of the league, and he got to the Premier League. But some people still say it's still shocking to get his. And then last season, we were looking to stay up. David, I'll be people in the chat as well. Is this all? Was Steve Cooper looking to get us promoted or not? This is what I'm hearing in all the people saying.
Oh, Steve certainly wasn't lucky to get us promoted. That sort of turnaround just doesn't. You just don't.
Because of what he done for Swansea. That's what I don't get it. Was he lucky? Because he doesn't play great football.
I don't think he was lucky. That season was not lucky. It was just too much of a turnaround. And so, I think he's been unlucky this season. He's best player and the player who scores all of the goals. I don't think any manager's coming in and turning that Forest team around. Who would want to manage Nottingham Forest right now with half the players about to go to African nations and our best player, Taiwo Awoniyi, being injured? I guess what frustrates me with the Cooper in, Cooper out talk is we really aren't close enough to it. I would just, Marinakis is going to be watching that. Like, if you think Marinakis is not thinking very carefully about, his manager and whether he should be the person or not, like, you've got rocks in your head. He will be thinking about that every single day, whether we're 6th or 17th. And so you just got to back that, we're just not close enough to it. And us looking from the outside, we only see the 90 minutes on the field at the start of the game, but it just back to the team decisions and the strategy and that thinking. I'm just not sure. Origi and Paul Cantley made the comment, why does Williams not get a run? And I would have thought Williams might have gotten a run would be my call right now. And I would be playing Williams. I thought he should have come on yesterday. I thought he should have come on earlier yesterday too.
First off, every single time he had the ball, he didn't use that space in front of him. And then he's coming back with himself. I'm thinking,
can Nico play in one of the wing spots though?
He can't. The thing I spoke
to, he could play higher up
because we let the goal in because Hudson-Odoi is an attacking player and didn't defend enough, and you could see on the goal Hudson-Odoi is pointing at the damn player who was unmarked, and then scored. And so I just think Nico Williams gets back with a bit more energy in that situation. And then I'm going to echo your point, Steve. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is playing out of position on the right wing, so we may as well play him as the striker out of position. We don't have a striker. Morgan Gibbs-White is our best player, and at least with his flicks, and we just tell him, just run at him when you get the ball. No one will support you, and then we can play another of the players in the midfield, and we play a different winger, I think is maybe what I would go to now. But back to Steve Cooper. When was the last time? I can't remember the last time I think, gee, Steve Cooper did something brilliantly, strategically or tactically then. Bringing on this person for this reason and in this way was such a masterstroke. You just don't. I
just don't get it. I don't want to throw that person under the bus who said it. But I think it was a ridiculous statement. He was looking to get Forest promoted on the way he did for Swansea. Like I said, I'm not going to throw the person under the bus because it was disrespectful. Glenn, like I said, he's under so much pressure now. These next 2 games, Fulham and Wolves away. People in the chat as well. If we don't get at least a win or 4 points from this, like I said, I don't want to put this discussion out there or put Steve Cooper out. I'm not doing that. But what's your thoughts on it, Glenn? How many points do we need? And people in the chat as well, how many points do we need from these next 2 games?
All right. After Bournemouth today, we are what are we? 6 points above Everton in 18th. We are in 15th. And Luton may or may not drop down. So we're 4 points away in 15th place. My concern about a loss at Craven Cottage on Wednesday and Molineux on Saturday is just going to add to, it would be what, 5 out of 5? Well, we've lost 3 in a row now, right? So if we lose any of the next 2, that's 4 losses in 5, and that's Brighton's sort of run in before they played us. I think the game on Wednesday is really important. The game on Saturday, because I think Wolves are 2 points ahead of us. So Wolves and Fulham, ironically, are the 2 places above us on very similar goal difference. If we'd have got anything out of the last 2 games, we would be 12th with 16. Right. So it's such fine margins up there that my mate Luke, who came over to watch the game with us yesterday, as he left, he said this very clearly. If you're right, Dave, we don't know what Marinakis and the Marinakis family are thinking right now. And I think there's a lot of frustration happening on the artist formerly known as Twitter, where they're talking about 2 more games and then he's out. You don't know that. And we haven't got any idea as to how many more opportunities after the vote of confidence this week. And normally in the vote of confidence, Steve, you know this, is normally a bad thing the week after, right? Because they'd normally pull the plug very quickly after that. The conversation Luke had with me was essentially, if this year, as a weaker year on the Premier League bottom 7, last year was far more difficult and we were in the bottom 3 at this point last season. Next season, with Leicester coming up, potentially Ipswich or Leeds or another team, it's going to be more competitive next year. Would we agree?
Yes, definitely.
So if they're going to make a change, I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm backing Cooper 100% while he's our manager. It wouldn't surprise me if in January they then put all of their cards on the table and say, we believe we're going to stay in the Premier League, but we're not where we want to be. The decision would be then to make a change to then give whoever comes in the rest of the season, what would it be? Essentially 15 games to get us in a better position to finish the league and kickstart 24-25. Now, I happen to agree with that to a certain extent in terms of my concern and my worry about the future of Steve Cooper in the club. I'm not 100% in favour of every decision he makes, but I don't think I'm in favour of anybody with 100% of their decisions. That includes my wife, who I love dearly. I think there's a significant number of things that people do which aren't everybody's cup of tea, and there's things that happen from time to time, like us not having a bit of luck, not having a team who's confident. I think with a bit of luck on Wednesday or Saturday, it might change the perspective going forward into Newcastle and Man United, etc., etc. But I am concerned, Dor, to answer your question. I'm very worried. I'm very worried about how we're playing at the moment. I'm very worried where our next goal's coming from. And I'm very worried about the issue that Bolly perhaps will have in terms of it was a hamstring, upper hamstring, right, left-hand side, wasn't it, from that stretch?
Yeah.
And wasn't he one of the players who went off at the same time as McKenna last time at Fulham?
For the first 5 minutes.
For a very similar injury as a hamstring gluteal sort of pull, and it took him 2 weeks to recover. So it may well be Nakate, and who knows? Murillo might also have a knock on a left hip from the first half that may.
He looked a bit knocked around. Wasn't that a miracle in the second half? How he came back and didn't seem to have anything wrong with it.
I think they worked. I think they worked for all of the 19 minutes he had at half time. They would have worked.
The entire staff just working on him.
Yeah.
I actually think the matches, fellas, are actually both being away matches is what we actually want, and against the opponents we want. I think Steve Cooper can kind of get the guys to say, all right, guys, Fulham and Wolves really are our competition. And I know we think that Everton are in the drop zone. They are really a better team than they're represented on the table because of the points deduction. So we aren't 6 points above the drop zone. We're 4 points above the bottom 3 teams because Everton are not going to get relegated. Like they're almost out of the drop zone now. So, I think siege mentality, guys. Everyone's out to get us. We don't get the referee decisions. No one thinks we can play. No one thinks we can score. Let's go to these 2 away matches. I don't think the next game can come soon enough for us. And I reckon we can win. Let's beat Fulham.
I love that positivity. I love it. That's what we need. We need results. We need results.
We need effort and we need energy. I'll take a 2-2 draw if the guys try harder. Then we go to Wolves and we give them a run. Let's go.
Let me ask a question. I'm for another topic I've seen as well. As all of us, we're old. I think I'm the youngest here. I think Glenn's the oldest here.
47.
47. Steve's younger then. Steve's younger.
I'm 40.
Oh, okay. Like, I would you class Steve Cooper as a legend? Legend gets thrown around way too easy these days. But would you, David? People in the chat as well? Would you class Steve Cooper a legend for what he's done for Nottingham Forest? Because, like I said, I've seen Frank Clark in the 90s. He got to the UEFA Cup, the quarterfinals. And in this era, everyone gets legend for scoring a winning goal against, I don't know, it might be Derby or whatever.
David, let's think about the term legend. What is a legend? A legend is a story that gets told. Of like, oh, do you remember when? Or like, oh, this went and happened and this went and happened. And how can Steve Cooper be anything but a legend? Because, like, you think of the 3 managers that we've had that, the most recently get discussed as legends, is Steve Cooper took us from bottom into the Premier League. And so that doesn't matter what happens. Like, if he takes us to relegation, it doesn't matter. He's still the player of the manager that took us up. And then you look at the Frank Clark story. He's a legend because no manager has been promoted and done as well in the Premier League the next season as him. And so we're still talking about that. And any team that gets promoted, like if a promoted team was 5th next season and the pundits were talking, how well is this manager doing? How well are Leicester doing finishing 5th? It's that Leicester would be compared to Frank Clark's Nottingham Forest. And when you go back to Brian Clough, the legend, who's really the legend, you just look at what he did with that team in the 2 consecutive European Cups. Now, that is like so hard to do. And so, of course he's a legend. And so I don't think anything can happen that can compromise Steve Cooper's status with the Forest faithful, and he will always be welcome as a Forest legend.
What about you, Steve? Would you class him as a legend?
Yeah, because like Dave said, it's moments in time, innit? It's like Leicester fans probably regard Ranieri as a legend. What he did for them winning the Premier League. What Cooper did, and he brought us 2 or 3, going on almost 3 years now, of the best years we've had in recent memory. The only one came close was Billy Davis, and I've said this many times, Ben. The last time I felt connected with a manager was Billy Davis on the first spell. We all loved Billy in the first spell. Billy Davis built a thing where it was us against the world, and I've seen many podcasts of ex-players who played under him said Billy Davis made it out that it was us against them. And like Dave just said, maybe Cooper needs to resort to that. Prior to that, you had Frank Clark. Dave Bassett
as well. I forgot about Bassett.
Dave Bassett, what he did for us as well in the 97-98 season.
Bassett, all of his players.
Because the owners messed up, as you know. Who left?
The owners messed him around.
Who left? Kevin Campbell lost.
Kevin Campbell, Scott Gamble, Steve Stone.
Colin Cooper.
Yeah, some legends left.
How much would we want any of those players in our team right now? How handy would Colin Cooper be in the current Forest team?
Coming back to Steve Cooper, and Ben, as you know, I live in the Swansea area. I say to Swansea fans, would you take Cooper back now? And especially where they are in the Championship. And they said, no, we've never take Cooper back. Some Swansea fans love him because what he did, back-to-back playoffs and, where they were as a club at that time, Cooper did a lot for them. but then a lot of Swansea fans are quite bitter towards him. But I'm sure they would swap where we are right now, being the Premier League. So for me, Cooper will go down as a legend, and when he does eventually go, it will be gutting, but we move on. And I think, like Dave just said, we will accept him back. I think if he ever came back, which he probably would, and whatever club he's at, he will acknowledge us. I don't think I won't like him to leave on bad terms. But what I would say, right, and if when he does go, Marinakis has to get this next manager right. This is probably one of the most important calls.
We've been linked with a manager from
Frankfurt.
People are chatting.
Yeah, and
I forgot his name now.
There's been rumours going around. Graham Potter was there watching yesterday as well. But again, you can just take out with a pinch of salt. But with when Cooper came in, right, it wasn't so much a gamble. It was like, get us safe. That's all Cooper would have been told. Even Marinakis wouldn't have dreamt us getting promoted last season. If we had ended up 15th in that league, we would have gone, whoo, thanks, Cooper. Now, let's push on. He got us up. Now, the next manager to come in, we have to get right. Because one, you have to connect with the fans straight away. Because we saw loving of Cooper. You can imagine, if he doesn't hit the ground running, we're going to turn on him so quick. But if he does hit the ground running, I'm not saying we will forget about Cooper, but as football fans do move on very quickly. And we will progress.
Very quick.
Because, right, you can clip this if you want, but a year down the line, this time next year, if we had 8th in the Premier League under the new regime, and we're 8th in the league pushing for Europe, you could resort back to this. Under the new manager, we go, look where we are now. Cooper could be forgotten about in the sense of where we go on to the next level, like what Brighton have done, or Brentford have done, or Villa have done. But we not to know. If a new manager comes in, he could flop, get us relegated, and we'd be like, we should never have sacked Cooper. So this next appointment, whoever it is, if when the Cooper eventually does go, because my personal feeling is, can he last out to New Year's? New Year's is his cut-off, I think. I think he will be given to New Year's because this next run of games, I done a prediction yesterday, predictions for the next 6 to 8 games, and we've got some really, really tricky games. Like, Bournemouth at home.
That's the Premier League. Every game
that's the Premier League.
That's the Premier League.
Going back to the Luton game, we should all be now in a sense of no game is a given. Look at that Luton game. We all thought home banker, Burnley home banker. We only just beat Sheffield United with the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So we can't take nothing for granted. But football, being football, if we win the next 2 games, we'll all be like, what Everton game? What happened?
The next 2 games are telling. Tottenham,
100%.
Newcastle, and Manchester United after that. That does not look good.
There's
we've got to beat Bournemouth at home as well. We've got to get something against Bournemouth.
Great point.
From Wolf, the big man knows he can't do that. What he does in the Greek league, trying to change the manager, it's not working there in the Premier League. It's different. But once he knows he can get it right, manager's Cooper is gone. That's a great point.
But Ben, this is why I'm going back to the very first point I made in the beginning about always resort back to that Chelsea game. I know Chelsea were poor at the time, but we went to Stamford Bridge. We looked like a Premiership outfit. We looked solid. We looked a threat. We never looked in danger. But then since then, I don't know whether Cooper felt he had to put these new signings in. We had to put,
This is what baffles me as well.
I know Murillo turned out amazing. But what baffles me, Ben, is we just look so solid in that game. And what happened? It's just unraveled. I don't know. It's just, if you're playing players for the sake of it, that he's had to because he signed them.
Yeah,
I don't know. Don't get me wrong, Murillo's been an unreal signing.
Injuries play a massive part in those decisions. I don't think it's based on they need to have certain number of games. Agents are obviously going to be talking to them and making sure they're justifying contracts. But I think there's a bigger issue.
Glenn, what I was saying, Glenn, is I would have to go back to that starting 11 against Chelsea and just cherry pick each player. I know we could pick out certain points, but then I don't know. It's whether Cooper's been more ruthless and he's shown another side to him, and then the players are a bit like taken back. I don't know. We all agree on. We don't know what gets said behind closed doors. We don't know if there's certain players in the dressing room or planting seeds and trying to turn people against Cooper. All these things can happen at clubs, and we just what I worry for Cooper is if we don't pick up the energy levels, then people will start questioning, have they stopped playing? And once your team start stop playing fair. It's only one way, and that's you're out the door. And that's the way football is.
Got another 5 minutes to go, and like I said, I'm not actually Glenn. Like I said, these two games are massive. Would you like the team that we played against Everton? What people in the chat as well get involved? What changes would you make against Fulham on Wednesday? Would you take any players out?
I don't know why Dominguez didn't play in midfield. It was obvious that Sangare was still not fully fit from the virus that he had. I believe he lost about 5 pounds in weight during that virus. So I think keeping that centre three with perhaps a Yates or a Dominguez and a more recovered Sangare, I think that would be the three I would start in midfield. I think in an ideal situation we would have a fit Bolly and a Murillo. I think Bolly's injury might mean that we're playing Nicarte, and I think they would probably listen to Dave's suggestion and bring Nico or someone else on the right side, and maybe stick Morgan up against their centre backs. Who knows? I think the way it's been playing, I think Wood has shown that he's able to play against teams that are not really prepared for him in terms of aerial battles. But if Wood's on the team sheet, I think there's only one way of playing again, and it's going to be their bread and butter in terms of their centre backs heading balls away and frustrating us again. So yeah, I don't think there would be significant changes for me on Wednesday. I think Bolly might be the only one, maybe Yates for Nico Dominguez, but I think that's what I'd stay with. Although it's a very interesting, it wouldn't surprise me, David, actually, what you were saying about having Morgan play through the middle. That sounds really, really, positive, and actually a really alternative option that they may not necessarily come up with. So I can see that working.
Can't cross the ball well, can
in a number of ways.
So
sorry,
he's not that good at cross up. So
yeah, stick him in there, and
stick him in
there, and get him running off balls, and give him a bit more freedom up there. I think that would be an ideal situation to put him in. So yeah, so it's essentially that spine, isn't it? It's the centre back force for injury, perhaps a Dominguez or a Yates, and then perhaps a Morgan up front.
Can I ask, do we think in hindsight it was the right call to drop the keeper, Matt Turner, now? Do we think we should have done that? I actually thought
he didn't look great in the first 15 minutes, did he? Flapping at a couple. He did not look comfortable.
He didn't
at all in that situation. I think
it surprised me a keeper changed back.
Absolutely,
I don't think he will.
The goal was partly him. I think he could have come out and given McNeil a bit more to do there. I think ultimately the fact that Aurier, and I'm going to throw Aurier under the bus to a certain extent, Aurier didn't press. As soon as McNeil took the first touch, he stood his ground and put his hands behind his back, didn't make any inroads in that first touch.
Hudson-Odoi should have marked him though, Glenn. That was Hudson-Odoi's bad defence.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. But at that situation, Aurier was then 2v1, wasn't he? And Poor.
Well,
Oddy, you're right. Oddy, I don't think he played particularly well against West Ham. He was, I don't know how much last week against Brighton either of them would have been able to stop the free header.
Yeah,
second goal, Brighton, which was a big error from Mangala in midfield, letting go, and who knows? There may well be a Matt Turner coming back in, although he's not played well for the States recently.
No, he's not been playing great for the States.
So he might, they might stick with him.
Right before we go, I've got I'm doing a match review to our preview with Alan, the Fulham fan. Everyone knew Alan was on my channel last season, so I'm doing a preview show at 8:00 tomorrow. So watch out for that. But let me do everyone's score prediction for the Fulham game. Before we did go, David, what do you think? What do you think the score will be? Do you think Forest will come back? 1-0.
1-0. I think
People
we'll
in the chat
have
as well.
more
Get
goals.
involved. What's your score?
I'd love to see us win. 2-1 wouldn't surprise me, but I think it 1-0.
Steve?
Oh, God. I think it's going to be 2-0 for them.
Ah, well, Steve, what are you doing?
No.
You meant to be on this thing for an hour, and you meant to just believe.
Dave, look at me. I'm talking realistically now. I look at Fulham today. He scored 3 at Anfield. Yesterday just depressed me. I don't know. I can't see. Who said it earlier? I can't see where the next goal is going to come from, unless we pick up drastically. Can I just say one quick thing about the team selection? Unlike the Everton game, I'd go for more athletic starter lineup because Fulham are quite an athletic team. They play with overlap with their fullbacks. I think we need players who will track back, work hard. I think I would personally start with Nico Williams right back and maybe Anya left back.
Let me say something. And this came from Nico Williams' dad own mouth. Nico Williams can't play in a 4-4 in a back four. So I don't think we'll ever see Nico Williams playing the back four. This is what Nico Williams' dad said.
Nico Williams' dad is just the mouthpiece and trying to make sure.
Yeah, he did. It was little away. He came up he spoke to me and Dave, and he's red. He's a top guy. He watches his channel as well. And just mate, when he was at Liverpool, Liverpool don't teach defending in a 4-4-2. So when I see everyone's comments about putting Williams in a 4-4-2, I think we'll never see him playing a 4-4-2. That is coming from Nico Williams' dad. So
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So because
I would more. Look at Trent, innit? Arnold, innit? That's why he's, perfect example, innit? So that's why maybe that's why I would. I think Dave mentioned earlier, push Nico Williams up. What they try something new, maybe freshen things up. I know, not making 11 changes.
Don't we?
You've got to try something because at the moment it's broken. Try and fix it.
Yeah.
If you're winning team, don't fix it.
Is there a youth team striker that we just think is
right? Let's get on my nerves. Like I saw in the chat as well. Bring the youngsters. Like there's Larson and who's the other one?
Kwate, is it?
Kwate. They're not good enough.
If they were good enough, they'd already be in, wouldn't they? And we'd know about them.
If
they were good enough, we'd know. We'd really know about them.
Yeah, and there's other one. I remember. Was it who's the other one? There's the other one who scored against Harrogate. Oh, I forgot the one. People in the chat. Who was it? Who scored against Harrogate? He's only in 18, but they're not good enough. They're not good enough at all. And that's my opinion.
Right. So thing is, right? You've got Newcastle with Miley, who's 17-year-old. You got Man United with that Mainu, is it 18, who started the game last night. They're the exception where they're playing at top level clubs and they take that risk.
Yes.
We're not in that predicament yet. No. We can't just chuck a 17-year-old striker in. We're not in that bracket yet. We're not in that predicament of putting 17 and 18-year-olds. That we're not even in that realm yet. So no, that's not even a debate.
I say that. I just don't think because I think Forest play Doncaster on Tuesday. Well, good, I can't go because I've got work. So if Forest aren't going, then people like Larson and Konate will be playing. So, yeah. Right. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for very much.
Dave didn't give his prediction.
Neither did I.
Oh, sorry.
You said 1-1.
No, I did. I said 1-1. Glenn.
Dave said 1-1.
Sorry,
What's yours, Glenn? Sorry.
Here we go. 0-0 at half-time. 1-1 at 90 minutes. And Morgan scores a penalty in the 92nd.
Oh, dude, I love that.
And then it'd be limbs.
You see
our goal in the second half's an own goal.
You'll see Glenn on the pitch.
I reckon you're right, Glenn. That's the only way we're going to score. It'll be an own goal.
We'll see Glenn on the pitch.
I'll take that all day.
VAR penalty awarded to us that'll be dubious.
I'm going to Fulham for the 4th year in a row, and I can't wait on Wednesday.
I love going. You know what? I'm respect to Fulham. I like going to Fulham. They do decent pies. They're like a family club.
Chicken ones are good, aren't they? I know you like.
Yeah, I love the chicken balti pies. So
like a meat pie, like I know Dore.
David, you need to go to Fulham. When you come to the UK, go to Fulham. Decent food down as well. Family, they're like a family club. But I've been there I've been in those times, and
Yeah.
So, Dor, you predicting 5-0 Forest?
I'll tell you tomorrow, people.
Shoot in.
We don't want to score. What we want a result. You don't want a score prediction. What's your result?
Forest win.
Forest win.
I think Forest. No, I think Forest.
Here's a different question for you, Dor. If Forest are to score first, what minute would you want them to score? 90th.
90th. No, yeah, 90th.
We still blow.
I'll take 1-0. I'll take 1-0. But I think when was it? When Ziganel scored. We'll be 1-0.
The season we went up.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
I love that guy. It's such good hair.
What did you say? What did you say, David?
If we got Ziganel back, we'd be by far the best looking team in this league. By far. Can I just say one thing about the goals? They put a stat up on the TV yesterday. We're top of the bracket for the quickest goals in Europe in the first 5 minutes. Yeah. Because after the 5th minute,
wouldn't we be about 5th? Something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That means you can just 5-minute matches.
Right. Thank you everyone for taking the time. Glenn, Steve, and David. Like I said, I'll be back on tomorrow with at 8 o'clock with Alan, the Fulham fan, to talk about Fulham's season so far. So please watch out for that. And like I said, me and Glenn will be at Fulham on Wednesday. So if you want to get a vlog, please do. But yeah, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on Steve Cooper.
We're gonna win.
Keep the faith, Dor. Keep the faith.
I'm not doing it. I see people. I think I showed Steven the clip. I was thrown under the bus the other day, today. So, yeah, I'm not going to.
Adding to that, actually, I think Matthew's tweet yesterday was absolutely spot on when he was talking about how fortunate we are to have a manager that bought into our project and bought in and developed and raised the confidence and the kind of the swagger of people of Nottingham Forest fans. And, as much as we're all kind of pushing along on the what he's done so far, and we're certainly not going to shy away, are we, from assessing what's going on at the moment?
Exactly.
I think he's still got a lot of credit in my my bank of Forest managers. You're right, Steve. We've got to make sure that whenever he does go, and the interview did this week with Radio Nottingham Sport was absolutely spot on. That when he does go, they'll be taking him out kicking and screaming. The next one in has to be a really special person, and at the moment 100%. I don't know who that person is.
Don't worry, Glenn. We'll get Pep. Don't worry. We'll get Pep.
Right, people. Right. No, I don't want Pep. I don't want Pep. It's not my nice.
I might actually go full Pep.
Right, people, thank you all. Before you do go, people, please do hit the like button if you can. And if you are rewatching this, if there's any discussion that you want to say, please put it in the description below and I'll get involved to talk. Right, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock for the Fulham Forest preview show. It should be fun, my friend Alan. Peace and love, people. I'm not Steve Cooper at people. I don't care what you say. Peace and love. Up the Forest.
Good parade.